panel discussion, we're going to talk of these things at length. And at the end of this panel, I believe every one of us will see how this discussion end up becoming a very important discussion as we close up today's sessions. I'm privileged to have with me William from AdaptIT. Also, I have Frank from Helios Tower. I also have Bradley from Lynk Global, and a very good friend of mine, Mohamed from Octopian. These colleagues of mine today will share with us how we are going to foster and to make sure that our critical infrastructure, our money, and our people are indeed secure and safe as they browse through the internet and they communicate with these devices across the globe. So I will allow, starting with William, to introduce yourself. And after introducing yourself, you can tell us a little bit of what you do. And then I'll move on the same question to everyone else. Thank you.
Great stuff. No, thank you very much. I think, William Rilla from AdaptIT. The title on the board has changed since we originally registered, and I've now taken on full technical ownership of the telecoms division of AdaptIT, so looking after all security, all technology, and all product lines within the telecoms division of AdaptIT. So I find myself tremendously busy fighting the challenge of protecting the data that we process, and it talks to the value of the data that goes through all of the telco businesses. As we know in this day and age, the data is really what creates power, and what drives business, and making use of that data, that commodity that the world has been generating over the years, is really the value behind a lot of what and why we see so much cybercrime. So that challenge is an amazing challenge, and it keeps growing day to day. But it is also that opportunity for all of us to learn about these practices, to make sure that we take the next steps in not only protecting ourselves and our businesses, but protecting each and every individual that we service. And I think that to me is the key. It's not, at the end of the day, all of our data that we're protecting, but it's also every person on the street's data that we really need to take into consideration.
Yeah, actually, my name is Frank Noel. I'm the head of performance engineering at the group level of Helios. Actually, my role is actually to look at the energy efficiency of the entire group across our 9 markets in Africa and the Middle East. And this is to do with looking at how we deliver the service to customer, the KPI which we have with the customer, and in terms of the efficiency, how are we consuming what we are supposed to be consuming, and also designing in terms of our equipment in terms of to bring efficiency. So actually, being in engineering, data is one of the key aspects which we are looking, and we are actually making our decision based on the data. And we being a entire industry, it doesn't mean that we are standing alone from that exposure of the cyber attack. Cyber attack actually is affecting everyone, and we are actually one of the people who are the main stakeholder which we might be impacted somehow. And we will share with you what experience we have and what we can do together collaboratively to see how we're gonna stop these kind of things. It is key now, and I think the world in the whole, we have to be aware, and we have to make changes which are gonna safeguard our business and even our future.
Hi everyone, my name is Bradley Shaw, Vice President Middle East and Africa for Lynk. Madan, can we play the video? Okay, so we'll come back. So I've got a 1-minute video that I'd like to play just to kind of give you an indication of what we do. But Lynk is a LEO satellite operator providing direct-to-device connectivity. So our satellites orbit at 500 kilometers, and we will connect directly to any 3GPP compliant device on the ground, from your old Nokia 3210s to your brand new iPhones and Samsung Galaxies, using the operator's spectrum as the access technology. So we connect via spectrum from devices on the ground to our satellites and provide connectivity, voice data, messaging, and yeah, that's what we're doing and solving the rural connectivity problem globally. Thanks.
Good afternoon and Assalamu alaikum. This is Mohamed Abdul Rahim. I'm managing director of Octopian Security, which is part of Octopian Global Services. We do exist in 182 cities across the globe. We're helping private and government sectors to build connectivity and cybersecurity digital transformation. Beside this, I'm the co-chair of the Middle East and Africa of the FAIR Institute, and also advisor board member of the FAIR Institute. FAIR stands for Factor Analysis of Information Risk, and part of what we are doing as the FAIR Institute, beside my role as CEO of Octopian Security, is to help governments and the private sector to connect digital citizen equity index to cybersecurity maturity index.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mohamed. Actually, cybercrime, we projected that next year, 2025, now it is 2023, by 2025, we are going to lose around 10.5 trillion USD because of cyber attacks and cyber crimes. And of course, we have seen a big number of challenges to an extent that if you start looking at different countries, what they have, and the cyber criminal, what they have, they exceeded far from what we have. So for us, I think we need to quantify and monetize our decisions in cybersecurity so that we can protect our critical infrastructure, but also we can make sure that we, as we move or we transfer or we go to digital economy and digitizing everything, we move in a safer way. So, what will be your advice that this is probably a way forward, or how we can move forward to meet that needed target, despite of all these challenges that we see across many countries?
Yeah, actually, before I answer those questions, can I ask the audience one question? What do you think is the largest economy in the world? Who's having the largest economy of the world? Oh? China? US? Yes, that's right. US is first. China is second. Who's third? Oh? India? I'm really sorry to say that cyber criminals is the one who's having the third national revenue and national economy. Yeah. Actually, my colleague Yusuf mentioned that nowadays, or this year, the cost of cyber crimes is 2.2 trillion. And by 2025, it will become around 10 trillion. If we look at the highest economy related to cybersecurity, related to IT infrastructure information, the highest economy is the cyber criminal economy, with 6 trillion. The second is China, with 4.4 trillion. The third is US with 3-point-something trillion. That means cyber criminals are doing better than China and better than USA in this type of industry. And the intelligence director of USA declared that the cyber attacks is more dangerous and applying threats more than the international terrorism. And as you know, especially after the war that we're having now between Russia and Ukraine, most of the like governments, they are successfully and frequently attacking each other. So the problem actually with cybersecurity, and back to the question, that most of us, we're pushing towards digital transformation, and I heard Mr. Leo before, who was talking about, let's say, the digital transformation as part of building the economy and to build the digital economy, which is great, and I liked actually when the minister today morning connected both the digital transformation and cybersecurity in one statement. The minister who connected this in one statement. We always know that cybersecurity is very critical, it's dangerous, it causes issues in the economy, financial, and also lives, like Yusuf said. But the first one who put those two terms, digital transformation and cybersecurity, in the same statement is the minister today morning. And most of the governments, they are starving to build what we call a digital citizen equity index, which is based on digital business index and digital citizen index, and they forgot to connect this to the cybersecurity maturity index. Having this in mind now in Africa is very critical, because we have the chance in Africa to build our digital economy, digital transformation strategies, before we start saying, oops, we forgot that we need to tackle this cybersecurity. While we are building the connectivity, if we consider cybersecurity now, and we quantify actually the losses that we might have while we are creating our digital transformation initiatives, will prevent us, or let's say minimize the chances that Africa will meet losses like what we are having globally. And I can mention, let's say, what's declared by the head of national cybersecurity in Jordan, when he mentioned that the losses in Jordan was around 200 million. So if we are building a digital transformation to enhance the digital economy, we need to make sure that whatever we're building is not capitalized, or let's say monetized by the cyber criminals. And let's always remember that cyber criminals are doing 6 trillion yearly. Hopefully this answered.
Thank you very much, Mohamed. Actually, the other time we had a discussion, and it was in Kigali, Rwanda, and Eugene from Kaspersky told us that Africa, we need to do more to fight off cyber attacks. And then during that discussion, we were asking ourselves that what kind of crime that we used to know that is no longer in the cyberspace. Because I think we know bullying, now we have cyberbullying. People used to steal money, now we have people can steal money, a lot of money from banks just by clicking here and there. We have reached a point where people can kill others in a cyberspace. Ransomware attack goes around 2019. Ransomware attacks cause around 7 to 1 death. Recently here, one of the countries was facing a troubling challenges with cyber attack, and people were demanding explanation because they said some of their people died because of that incident. So we see a car crashed because of cyber attacks, planes and so on. So I think Lynk Global, you're doing something to make sure that our connection are secure, or you want to make sure that our digital resilience is doing better. So can you tell us about that, and how do you want? How will you achieve that particular target?
Thanks, Yusuf. I take a slightly different view on the network resilience discussion. I'm certainly no cybersecurity expert. I'm not even an engineer. I'm a commercial guy. Generally, one of the dumbest people in the room. So I take that with a kind of necessary kind of pinch of salt. But the video is now ready. So I'd really like to just take 51 seconds to show you a video that a customer of ours did, which really describes what we do.
Spot, but we picked it because it's got no network coverage, so you can't phone call out here. We're going to try one via a cell tower in space.
It's restarting. Sorry, guys.
So we're in a Hanoa Regional Park, which is a pretty nice spot, but we picked it because it's got no network coverage. So you can't normally make a phone call out here. We're going to try one via a cell tower in space.
Hello, Brendan. How are you doing?
Hey Dave, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, mate. Loud and clear.
First call over satellite from New Zealand.
Schedule groundbreaking tech milestone for a morning.
Hey, do you want to hear a dad joke? It's pretty cold up in space, but it just got...
2 degrees cooler.
Too cool.
Great stuff. Thanks very much. So yeah, what we're providing is digital infrastructure and specifically mobile network coverage from a satellite. Now, digital resilience in my mind, or kind of network resilience in my mind, covers cybersecurity, but also access to the network. Having 24-hour access to the network at all times, whether that involves the power side, the network uptime, and coverage. And coverage is a big issue in Africa. Today, we still have 50% of the population that doesn't have coverage on this construct. We have stories in, so just one anecdotal story in Chad, you have a village about 300 kilometers from their closest town that has coverage. A vehicle drives from that town from the village into town every day, carries a bag of cell phones with him. Those mobile devices then get signal when they get to the town, messages go out, messages come in, vehicle goes back to the town in the evening. People respond to the messages, the next morning the vehicle goes back into town again. So there's a 24-hour turnaround in terms of getting messages to people in that village. That is not a resilient network in my mind. So yes, it's not a cybersecurity topic, but we feel that kind of Lynk is an important kind of link in this network to get coverage to those people that need it and to provide those resilient networks that are available all the time for MNO and MNO customers and generally just for the populace of Africa. Today we're sitting in the GSMA says we've got 45% of the population that's currently uncovered. How is that possible in 2023? We have 45% of 1 billion people in Africa that don't have network coverage at home. So, thanks.
Thank you, Bradley. I think what you say, we actually agree in a cybersecurity. We have something called availability, authenticity, and then we have confidentiality and integrity. These things we all look at when we speak about cybersecurity. So I think the availability part is the one we touched on. So thank you very much. Okay, I want to move on with to my friend Frank from Helios Tower. I think one of the bigger challenges that I've seen of late is that most of our telecom companies in Africa hear a story from one country to another country, that they're facing troubles whereby even people, they can't do the transaction, those mobile money, they can't communicate well, they can't text one another because of these challenges with connectivities and so on and so on. So I think it becomes a trend as of late. And I think Helios Tower, you work very closely with MNOs. So can you tell us, what do you think is lack, or what do you think is a challenge that you probably need to address so that we can strengthen our cyber security in our MNOs and of course the wider perspective of different other organizations?
Okay, yeah, thank you, Yusuf. Actually, I would like to go back to the history and then we come back to where we are. Basically, if you look at Helios, for the MNO point of view, when we acquire the towers, we have a lot of challenge. And I can call cybersecurity is advanced ways of theft, which is happening now on interconnected networks. So back in the days, when we acquire the towers, and even the challenge which we've been facing by MNO, availability has been our challenge, and it is coming from different perspectives. It can be power, and the theft has been one of the major challenges actually happening and affecting us. So you find that we may be losing the asset, we may be losing fuel of the generator, we're losing the batteries, and the sites or the entire backbone goes down. This actually causing people not able to make the phone call. I can give you an example where we may find that, let's say we have a mom somewhere in the village. She's about to deliver, and somewhere in the middle of the night she's making a call. And all of a sudden somebody goes and tamper with the infrastructure, actually steal the battery or steal the fuel. The entire network is down. So we have the probability of losing the mom and the child over there. So this is quite high, and all together we need to do something. So on Helios' point of view, we look at the way we are facing this challenge, and we come, initially we used to have the man guard actually manning the sites. Now, with the technology evolving, we are actually using the IoT, connecting our site, using the alarms, using the CCTV. So we have the mixture of the hybrid of security means of protecting the asset. So, and in risk area, we're even doing the patrolling. So basically, what we are doing is to cover the gap where being human being, being awake for 24 hours, So we have a security guard, but some of the time they won't be 24 hours. So the actual technology aspect is contemplating that amount. And then when we have safety, we get the alarms from our monitoring system, and we are able to act on that perspective. So what we are doing now is to make sure that we are covering the safety aspect of it, and this actually assure the network availability not only from our side, but also from the MNO, and actually assure our customer satisfaction. So what we should be doing now, I think collectively we need to come together. Cybersecurity is something actually not of a certain government or of a certain institution. It's all over the globe. As you have seen the statistics here, $60 trillion we are losing, which is huge. It's an enormous amount of money. How can we stop it? We need to come collectively. If you look at the government today, let's take it the way of pandemic. When Corona happens, COVID, you can see we have an awareness coming from both angles. We have an awareness coming from WHO, it goes down to the government, and actually the Ministry of the Health taking that to the people. So the awareness was very good, and everyone was taking precaution to protect himself. So what are we doing with cybersecurity? We haven't done enough. I think that's the time now I'm calling from the MNO, from the investors, from the government, to come together and try to see how we can actually bridge that gap and make sure that the cybersecurity awareness is to everyone, and everyone is taking precaution. I will also challenge and try to direct, maybe we are doing a lot of CSR. Can we direct maybe some of our CSR in terms of cybersecurity awareness? People knows the risk of it, and they know how to protect themselves from that angle. Probably I'll just leave it to other people to take it over. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Frank. Actually, he raised an important matter. I always say that human beings are the weakest link to the security chain. Most of these attacks that we see today, we'll find out a certain individual did something wrong, and not always the technology issue. So I think awareness is a very important thing, and I suggested that we should work closely together. Different companies with those CSRs that you spoke of. I think it's a right time now to push this money to awareness programs. And just to put that I think next month is our Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Globally, we are celebrating Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And the government of Tanzania last year did a tremendous job on this particular area. Across the country, I think it was all over. Everyone spoke of cybersecurity because of the project we did. And I think Mohamed also was there, and the team. It was an excellent project. So I think it's something that we should push it further. So quickly, I want to before I give you at least 1 minute to close up, I want to quickly get to you, William. I think one of the bigger challenges that I've seen of late is that a cyber criminal use similar techniques. Cyber criminal attack here, and tomorrow you see the other part has been also attacked with similar techniques, similar ways of the. If you look at it or investigate the matter, you realize everything was done the same. So I fear we lack sharing of intelligence and information become a problematic thing that I don't know how we can get out of it. So, on your view, what do you think should be done more so that at least we can bring that gap of sharing of info and intel in a good way in organizations and countries?
No, thank you for that question. I think it's the age-old question. Everybody wants to know what we do. It's a serious problem. We all understand that people are losing a lot of money, people are losing their lives. It's something very, very serious. And as I started, there's data behind all of this. The reality of it is that data is not only what's causing this wave of violent of cybercrime, it's also the answer. Because as you say, we've seen these things before. Tracking properly what's happening on the network, what's going in and out, and to where, is how we identify these things in the first place. And most cybersecurity agencies are at the moment looking further and further down this rabbit hole to see what we can do to allow for early detection of all of these things, to minimize that impact as much as possible, and make sure that we've got early warning systems for all of these different things. The other large aspect of all of these things is layering of security. I know whenever we talk about security, it tends to be an expensive conversation, and it grows and grows and grows based on how important the data is. But the reality is that we build layers into security specifically so that it buys us time to detect and detain. If, for example, we've got 3 layers of security and an intruder manages to make it through the first layer, the second layer might just hold them up long enough so that the first layer can kick back in and block them right back out. And the reality is, the more we learn, the more we share, the more we educate, not only from the technology that's available for all of all of these layers of security, but also from that social engineering aspect. As you say, majority of cyber crimes is not somebody sitting behind a terminal hacking away at a computer. Majority of cyber crime is somebody picking up the phone, calling somebody. We always hear about the call centers that call old grandmas and ask for their security numbers and everything else, and they are all too happy to provide it. The reality is, majority of cybercrime can be stopped by educating individuals. And for me, that's the drive. The drive is not to look at security as this negative that everybody looks at and sees this sink of money because we keep investing in it. It doesn't generate its own value. It is there to protect value, but it is a necessary evil for us to make sure that we keep all of our data safe, all of our businesses protected from not only the monetary value, but also the reputational risks that go along with it.
Before you put down your mic, I think you can also provide your final remarks. 1 minute.
I think it's always nice to have a stage like this to talk about something that most of the time we don't want to talk about for various different reasons. Security has always had a negative connotation because it means that somebody is attacking us. The reality is, because we are successful businesses, because the MNOs are growing, because telecommunications and interconnectivity of people has become such a valuable commodity, it needs to be protected. People are attacking the large organizations that have the target on their back because they're successful, because there's a lot of potential revenue to be made on these large targets. And that is unfortunately why we sit and have these conversations, so that we can make sure that we can address that target. We always play a cat and mouse game with cyber criminals. We keep doing more, they keep investing more, they get better tools, we get better tools, and it's a constant evolving game. It never ends. This is the infinite game of business. Day to day, step by step, we've got to carry on staying ahead of the curve. And it's important for us as leaders to have these conversations so that we know why we do what we do.
Thank you very much, William. Frank, final remarks, 1 minute.
Yeah, I would like to quote Moderator. Once he said, we are not free and independent as long as our neighbors are not free. So as long as much we do in an organization, and we are living in the world of internet network of things, the cybersecurity is going to attack us, even if we do much better as an organization. So for me, is again, as echo what my friend said here, is the leaders of the business, we come together and they try to make as much as possible to minimize the cyber issue, the cyber theft. So what we should be doing now is make sure that let's give an example. If today we're having an attack, who actually is coming front to say it has been attacked? These actually the issues which are actually maybe managing though, and people end up paying a large sum amount of money, but they never disclose. The banks are being attacked, you understand? But they never come out and say that we have been attacked, we lose this amount of money. And these guys, as long as they remain somewhere, they are not visible, they keep on doing it and doing it again. So, but as the business leaders, we can come together and they strengthen and they agree that this is something we need to shame and we need to voice it out. So to all create a safe environment. We will only be safe as long as we come together. That's what I will say.
Thank you very much. Bradley, final remarks.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Yusuf. Thanks, panel. I would just like to start by saying thank you very much to the audience. When this panel was shifted later in the day because of the government panel going earlier, I thought there were going to be 4 or 5 people in the audience. So I'm incredibly grateful for you guys sticking around and listening to us. Thank you so much. Just quickly as my final remarks, we're open for business. We're trying to fix a rural connectivity problem. We work directly with MNOs. We don't go direct to consumer. We can't. The access spectrum, the access technology to the satellite is Spectrum. Spectrum is owned by the MNOs. So we partner with MNOs to provide connectivity in Africa. So I would love to hear more from any regulators, ministries, or MNOs that are interested. I'll keep it as short as possible so that we can all end the day and kind of go enjoy the lovely sunset and some drinks. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bradley. Mohamed?
Yeah. So actually, my final remarks will be, first of all, cybersecurity is not a technology problem. It's a business problem, so don't expect that your ICT or, let's say, cybersecurity leaders can do this or protect this on behalf of you. This is a very business, very economical issue, so the 3 elements need to work together. First one is the technology partner, name it whomever. The other one is the government, and those are not enough. The third one is the economists of any government or any organization, because 86% of the attacks and the cyber crimes, which is 6 trillion yearly, is driven by economical motivation. The cyber criminals are incentivized to do this. It's a very low risk and high gain. A cyber criminal, a smart cyber criminal can do millions. If he's smart, can do millions without the fear to be caught. So he is incentivized to do this, to create those millions. We need to incentivize people to do security. We don't do this, unfortunately. We don't pay the programmer or the network administrator more if he is doing his job securely. So there is a misalignment between our view and the cyber criminal view. We need to incentivize network administrators, database administrators, workers, coders to build secure products, install systems securely. This will not happen if the economists, the governments, the technology providers work together, and I agree with all. The best way to do this is to quantify risk. Unfortunately, as the cybersecurity leaders, we used to say high issue, high dangerous, high medium low. This will not work. If we didn't do cyber security quantification, I mean we quantify that if you do this, you will lose this amount. This is the only way that your CFO, CEO, regulator will understand what you're speaking, and then he will act. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Mohamed. I acknowledge a good friend of mine, Esther, is there, and I want to give you at least 1 minute to comment or do something of note.
Good evening. Without taking so much of your time, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a cybersecurity expert, and this is a subject that's close to heart. So as we're speaking on meaningful connectivity and digital resilience, let's not forget the young ones. These are the ones growing up in the age that we did not grow up in. The age of connectivity where they overshare sometimes things on social media. And sometimes they go on social media, they use this connectivity for the better, but they don't know how to protect themselves. So us as the decision makers, as the stakeholders, we need to come up with a program to educate our youngsters on how to safely navigate through the digital space. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Esther. I think the government of Tanzania is doing very well in that area, and next month you will see a tremendous job. I'm expecting it will be better than what we did last year. So keep that in mind, and I believe you will be a good part of it as well this year. Okay, so with that, I know I don't have enough time. Some people are raising hands. I don't think we have that time.
We may do a similar session tomorrow morning, given that we have some time and it's an important topic.
Okay, no problem. I think tomorrow we can hold up those questions for tomorrow. For me, I would say that cybercrime is a big challenge to all of us. It brings troubles to every country. No single country is immune to cyber crimes. So we need to do more. We need to fight harder with cyber criminals. And of course, the last thing I would say when we talk about cybersecurity is shared responsibility. So every one of us have to play their part to make sure that our cyberspace is indeed secure. And when we do that, all of us, then definitely our cyberspace will be a good place for our youngsters to live around, and all of us will be happy to be around it. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much, my panelists, and I look forward to have this good discussion next time, a bit longer, so that at least people can learn more about cybersecurity and digital resilience. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much. This is a very important topic. A number of people came and approached us, and I like what you said about the future. The young generation has to grow up feeling safe in this new world. So we may do another smaller session tomorrow on cybersecurity and risk management.